Hello and welcome back to Empyrion Galactic Survival. My name is Spanj, and ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Alpha 12. It's finally released out to the main branch, the main release. So if you're loading up the game now, it will be in Alpha 12. This is with no doubt the biggest update this game has ever seen. And so the patch notes that come with it are extensive. In fact, so much so that I will not be able to cover everything in this video, lest we be here all day. So as always, I will link down below to the patch notes. Check them out because I can't cover everything here, but they are extensive. They are absolutely extensive. One of the biggest changes, both figuratively and literally, is the new galaxy. Yeah, Empyrion has gone galactic, earning its namesake, Galactic Survival. Finally, not just one star, many thousands of stars are available for you to explore and visit. You can actually fly through the galaxy map in free camera using WASD combinations with shift and control in order to speed up the travel. And you can see just sheer number of stars. Now, bearing in mind as well, each star here that you're seeing has a series of planets around them, or, play fields at least anyway. Planets, asteroid fields, space, moons, gas giants as well. I'm in a system here that we can see Lulu Delta, which is actually a black hole, which is, they exist now. Spoiler alert. This is just one star that I'm around, the Lulu Delta, about black hole. And you can see there are a number of planets and playfields around this as well, including gas giants. There's one over there called Adanho. The planet names are a bit weird, but there we go. Good luck pronouncing any of them. But yes, the point is the scale of the game has just been upgraded a lot. Yeah. Not only that, but they've also added territories in for the core factions. See a little legend down the left-hand side there. You can see the Xerax Empire are the Reds, the light blue there are Traders, Creel Empire behind them, Polaris Pirates, and off into the distance over there in the pink there is something called the Legacy, and we'll come to those a bit later. You can turn off and on system names, territories, warp lines. Territories is useful to see what kind of resistance and POIs you're going to be coming up against as you travel around, but otherwise you can turn it off and just sit back and enjoy the view. It's very nice to look at. Also gone are the old skyboxes that we are used to with the old blue, red, yellow, whatever nebulas that we had, and actually replaced with it is a backdrop of the galaxy map that we were just flying around in. Obviously with all the names and stuff taken out and the perspective fixed, it absolutely looks gorgeous and I love it. It makes space so much more space-like. Coupled with the new look of planet since Alpha 11, and space really does look very pretty now. To help you navigate all this new space, you've got new waypoint system here, which actually persists beyond the playfield. There's a waypoint that I placed down on that planet down there. You can see it from space. So now you know where you need to come down into atmosphere in order to get back to your base, for example. Even the warp system has been updated, so you no longer actually need to lock onto a target. If you're close enough and you know where you're going, say to a waypoint, you can actually just point the ship at it and hit K and warp straight there. Bingo, you're now in the sector that that waypoint exists in. Obviously some waypoints are out of range, so for that one, for example there, it's just going to say out of range. You've got a maximum 30 light year jump distance, so we'd need to actually then figure out a route in order to get back to that waypoint. In the galaxy map itself, you can even waypoint here if you want to. That does actually make it a little bit easier to see if you're close by, but as you move further away, it becomes a little bit harder to see, as you can tell. But this is where the new registry system comes in. Because the registry system not only saves what waypoints you have there, it shows everything that you've discovered. That's every POI, every asteroid, every resource that you've come across will be listed in here. So if, like me, eventually you'll have a very full screen of various waypoints all over the place, you can hit this reset waypoints button and it'll wipe all the waypoints off of your screen. You can then go back through the registry and re-waypoint those ones that you actually want to see. On top of this, you can actually filter. Say I want to only see bases, and then it filters the whole list to just the bases that I found. Same for CVs, so on and so forth. So the whole registry is definitely what you're going to be using to find your way around this vast new galaxy and all these new playfields. This is going to keep a log of everything you found, everywhere you've been, and where all your stuff is, you know, when you leave it behind. Very, very useful. Something else that's going to help you find things is the new CV detector. This, as you can see, is going to make a very nice sounding little ping noise and then show you very interesting things dotted around space. This works by just putting a little question mark in the rough area that it is. If you then want to see what that question mark is, you then have to get much, much closer to it. I've already discovered, for example, this Immer class destroyer that's about 10 kilometers away. Everything else, I need to get much closer to find out what it is. Once you're within 3 kilometers of the object in space, you can fire off the detector again and it will actually tell you what it is. In this case, this thing seems to be a beacon. Down on the ground, the detector works in a very similar way. You need to add it to your toolbar like you would a weapon and then just fire it. It'll then ping off, making a very similar sort of noise, and it will highlight anything of interest to you on the map. You can then go into the map and even waypoint that if you want. And that way, when it disappears in a few seconds, you can still find it without having to ping again. Or, of course, if you've lost your bearings, you can always just ping again. I mean, it doesn't cost anything. It's free, isn't it? Just ping away. For CVs, SVs, and HVs, the detector is automatically added to your toolbar when the block is added to the vessel. So you don't need to add it in there manually, but you do need to then select it on your toolbar before you then fire it off. When you start a new game now, you now have a choice of 4 different starter planets within the normal survival game mode. The new ones being Swamp and the Snow planets. The Swamp planet will be slightly difficult because it has some temperature-based and radiation-based kind of environmental difficulties, plus a few extra nasties down there that are difficult to deal with. Also, if you're in the swamp at night, you don't want to be in the swamp at night. You just don't want to be. And on the Snow planet, obviously temperature difficulties down there, so you know, you want a heater, good armor fairly early on, but also no tutorial on this one. So the Snow planet is very much for sort of experienced players. No tutorial, and it's cold. It's very cold. Not much food around. So yeah, it should be interesting. Talking of tutorial, there is a whole new dialogue tutorial and mission system in Alpha 12. As you can see, Robinson Protocol starts slightly differently now. Crash land on the planet, and IDA will kick off and say, hey, you know, emergency situation detected. You can then right-click to show the text immediately. Some of it does take a long time to appear, and it can be quite frustrating waiting for this sort of thing to populate. But yeah, just right-click, and bear in mind as well the dialogue is work in progress at the moment. So it is mostly just to sort of demonstrate the ability and reorganize these story missions into actually a 6-chapter with a prologue storyline setup. This is actually very much worth doing. Tutorial is really good now. Actually, if you're new to the game, I highly recommend following it. It does take you through all the stuff that you need to know in order to survive and get going. It runs short, I think, beyond that. It kind of, once you get a base up, it kind of leaves you to devices, hands over to the solo missions, which then, well, I think as soon as you get to Off-World Grave, you're just going to get blown up. But they are very good missions. You should definitely do them. Just bear in mind, Off-World Grave and totally overpowered. Be prepared. Make sure you've got decent ships and weapons before you do those ones. But I'm really liking these new story missions. They're very, very good. The sort of dialogue and stuff needs a lot of work, but that's going to happen in time. The point is the overall story, where the direction this game is going with these things is absolutely fantastic, and I love it. And I can't wait for Chapter 7 and beyond and stuff. If you want to see me play through these, I do play through them in my experimental Let's Play. It is a bit choppy because I'm working through these as they're actually changing and developing. Hopefully if you did watch that, then there's some new changes in there that you haven't seen. and new surprises for you guys to explore and discover on your own. But yes, storyline chapters, very much good. Tutorial, also good. New dialogue system with it, very good. Much improved. Another quite exciting update is the addition of teleporters. Teleporters can now be added to your base and your CVs. They obviously need to be turned on, but very simply, walk into your teleporter, select your destination. That also has to have a teleporter, be within 30 light years as well, and you can teleport to it simply as that. The only thing I would say is that the teleporter itself does use a lot of power. It is also quite CPU hungry, about 20,000 for a CV, I believe. So it is worthwhile, and a lot of people have said this on my sort of videos and stuff, that they put up a motion sensor signal logic above the teleporter to only turn it on when you're actually standing on it. As soon as you leave the field, it then turns it off again. This saves an enormous amount of power, and they actually work if they're already turned off, in the destination at least. The one that you're using needs to be turned on. The one that you're teleporting to can work even if it's turned off. As just demonstrated, here we're on the ground pounder. There is no power on this ship. It's entirely switched off, and yet we were just able to teleport to it. Now, obviously, in order to use this the other way, well, I'd need to power the ship on and go the other way, and that then leaves this teleporter switched on. Hence, recommendation for using signal logic motion detectors. But yeah, teleporters. Cool, huh? There's a huge number of new POIs added to the game. Not only that, but POIs are now able to use player-type turrets, like this plasma cannon here. This is going to really make some of the POIs that you're going to come across a lot tougher and going to cause a lot more damage to your stuff. In fact, the new Creole faction makes great use of player-type turrets. The Creole faction is created by Jay Randall. As you know, has created many great creations on the workshop for this game. His creations are now being added to the game as the new Creole faction. Him and a few other people are working on more and more of these Creole POIs, but there is only a few of them in the game at the moment. Some of them use player turrets, some of them use the more traditional alien turrets, but you can absolutely guarantee that if you're planning on attacking one of these, and it is bristlingly covered in cannon turrets plus a nice big artillery gun on there, it's going to rip apart any unshielded ship very, very quickly, just as you would expect a player base would in PvP. So be prepared before you start picking on the Creole, because they come packing. In fact, more and more of the new POIs that we're going to see in the game are probably going to be sporting player-type turrets going forward, depending on what sort of difficulty the creator is going to be looking to put in to these POIs. Nevertheless, it's going to be interesting having to both defend from these things and also create an offensive capacity to deal with them as well. Now, we have heard a little bit about Legacy from previous versions, but not a huge amount until now. Now the Legacy with the new storyline is actually featured quite heavily, and they now have their own ships. It's difficult to actually make this thing out because it is so dark with big bright glowies on the outside, but it does resemble some kind of crustacean. It looks awesome. It is also bristling with the Legacy's own brand of weaponry. This stuff will rip you apart. This is the first sort of glimpse that we're getting of an end game in Empyrion. The Legacy have got weapons that are not available to us and are far more powerful than what we can throw at them, really. Type for type, the Legacy weapons are more powerful, but we can definitely support more and possibly overwhelm them. Certainly if we've got help as well. So while these new Legacy ships, stations and buildings and things like that are very powerful, they are definitely doable, but you will need to be very, very prepared. I don't want to show off too much of the Legacy stuff because it is kind of spoiler territory. I think showing a couple of their patrol ships is absolutely fine, but you should know that they have their own homeworld. They have a number of POIs that you're going to have to maybe defeat if you want to, both in space and on planet. And they are in their billions. There's just so many of them. Bring plenty of ammo. That's all I'll say. Bring plenty of ammo. and brown trousers. Maybe. A bunch of new materials have been added to the game, including ice. Ice you can now mine in space. Ice asteroids, believe it or not. These will pick up as ice blocks, and they can be refined into water containers, just the same as what you get from your water collectors you're used to. This does mean that you can now gather water in space, refine it into oxygen, and therefore never have to go down on the planet ever again if you don't want to. Ice will help you stay in space and live that nomadic lifestyle that you've always been dreaming of. As well as ice, we now have aluminium, platinum, and titanium, all in asteroid form. Titanium, platinum, and aluminium, I also believe, can be mined from deposits on planets. You'll find that titanium has actually replaced sathium in a lot of recipes. You'll see titanium rods for oscillators and flux coils, for example. You'll also find that titanium plates are now used for hardened steel blocks instead of sathium, but sathium is still used to manufacture sathium plates that are required for combat steel. Sathium is now much rarer, in line with the restrum and zirconium, kind of levels of importance and rarity. As for platinum and aluminium, there is no current use for those in recipes, but I believe that is coming soon at some point. For the time being, you can create aluminium powder, foils, platinum ingots, and platinum bars. I believe you can sell these to traders at the moment. I don't think they are part of any recipes at this time. If we look at the item menu, we can now see that a lot of items have actually changed in stack sizes. So where they were 999 before, they're now 4,000, for example. Here we can see the ingots are all up at 4,000. Water containers, which was one of the most pain in the butts, being at as small a stack size as it was, now stacks at 1,000, which is very nice and very, very helpful. This is really going to help containers that are under volume but out of slots, because now you can stack higher. So hopefully you're not using so many slots. Sticking with sort of inventory, we can see that we have some sorting options now for our inventory. This works in item type, alphabetical, food, perish time, mass and volume. I find item type, mass and volume probably the most useful. Food and perish time, I guess, would be useful maybe for refrigerators or having food outside of refrigerators to find out what's going to perish first. Generally, what you do is you set an item, you set a sort, and then if you change that and move stuff around, close and reopen, and the sorting will reapply to your inventory. Even if you then put things back in there that are out of order, close, reopen, and it resorts it according to item type or whatever sorting parameters you have. Volume, again, is one I find most useful, especially if you're working with weights and volumes enabled and limited cargo space. Mass, again, if you're working weights and volumes enabled and you need to find out what's the heaviest, is very useful. Generally, I'll keep it on item type. That seems to work for me. And then, like I said, all you need to do is just open and close it, and it will auto sort for you. Trade stations and space stations like the Polaris trade station here have now an extra use, not only just trading commodities with the onboard traders, but you can now use something called station services. This is available if you're close enough to a trade station or a space station that has station services available. Just hit P to open the control panel and then select station services. And as you can see, these are the available services. You can refuel, rearm, even repair, recharge shields. If you've got the cash, pretty much everything you need to run and maintain your vessel. You can see over here under the refuel option, I'm down to 15% of my tank, so it would be great to refuel right about now. It's going to cost me 7,000 credits to get to 100%. Go ahead and do that. Fills the tank right up. I'm going to do the same for Pentaxid as well. Warp drive tank is full, apparently. Okay, could not be bought. 36% is an interesting full to me, but there we go. Right, 55% over here. Which one is it? I have no idea. Elion, please fix. Ammunition, at least I can buy a bit more ammo. So let's top up on some LS charge CV. There, we can even go 1,000. There we go. Lovely. Ammo containers are full, not all bought. Let's say my ship is damaged. We can get a quote for the repairs. In this case, ship is not damaged, so no repair cost. And likewise, if my shields were depleted, I could even recharge them here for free and not consume my own fuel, energy, and time doing it. Very nice, very helpful, great additional use for those credits you acquire selling those EVA boosts. Providing there's a trade station nearby to use it, of course. Just quickly on to the controversial topic of CPU. CPU limits have been updated for HVs and for SVs. So tier 4 is now 100,000 for HVs, for example. If CPU is really not your thing, but you want to play on a CPU restricted server, for example, well, you can now get an advanced core. Except I'm not really sure where to get it from. The patch notes say that you can only get this from very dangerous enemies. So if anybody knows what that means, please do let me know, because I've not managed to find one yet. I have no idea where to get one. But in essence, this advanced core will remove any CPU limitations from your vessel or base and get around the entire CPU limit entirely. So if you've got a massive stupid ship that goes well beyond CPU limits, you can put an advanced core in it, and technically you can now bring it into your survival game. But like I said, I don't actually know where to get those advanced cores from. But once again, if you know where to get one of these from, do let me know in the comments. Very interested to find out. One of the biggest and most fundamental changes to the version of Empyrion in Alpha 12 is actually something called the database. I'm not too sure on the specifics and what this database means. As I understand it, it allows them to remove limits on ID numbers that they previously had. ID numbers used for things that you spawn in, the ships, POIs, everything, every object has an ID number. As far as I understand it, this database allows, well, infinite ID numbers. I don't think there is a limit anymore. Or maybe there is one, but it's ridiculously high. This new database has also meant that a huge performance boost for the game. Everything seems to be so much faster and slicker. I'm not getting as much turret lag. Usually it would take like about 5 minutes for a turret to realize it's got a target and then get on with it. Now I'm getting 70-80 frames while flying at 100 meters a second while my turrets are tearing apart this ship. Absolutely no frame drops whatsoever. This new database and whatever other optimizations they may have done have vastly improved performance of the game, in my opinion. Let me know what your experiences are as well. I'd be interested to see in the comments if you've noticed a performance increase. Certainly the guys in my Discord community have been testing PvP battles on a server, and they've reported that this version has massively improved PvP. There is next to no lag between 3 or 4 ships battling out. These are CPU compliant ships at the end of the day as well, but still, the fact that you've got so many turrets all firing, acquiring targets while the player moves around, and you're still getting decent frames, well, that's a massive improvement. That is a huge improvement. And I gotta say, although I'm playing in single player, how smooth the ray tracer is here, 70-80 frames per second, while firing, moving, being fired upon. Well, I'd say that's a big win. Hell yes, Elion. Hell yes. Another thing I can't really show you, just because of the nature of the change. Elion have now opened up all of the configuration files in the game to allow them to be modified by the player, to change things. So anything really can be changed, from how much stock a trader has to how much damage your laser turrets do, or whether you can fire certain types of turrets in atmosphere or out of atmosphere, that sort of thing. So if you're really unhappy with a certain aspect of the game, perhaps you'd like CV mining turrets, for example, to work in atmosphere, you can now go into the configuration file inside the game's folders and change it so that they do. Now, that does mean that it's only really going to work for you in single player. You're not going to be able to get that to work on a multiplayer server unless you have a server admin that has modified his server with those changes. So just bear that in mind. You know, if you play and get used to, I love Love the CV mining turrets now work on planets. It's great. Join a multiplayer server, and now suddenly you can't do it. Just bear that in mind. But you know, it is good that they've opened these config files and let you rummage inside them. Just bear in mind, if you are going into these config files, they're in the game's installation folder. Take a backup of the original file before you make any changes, because if you're anything like me, you will break it the first time you try and modify anything. But that's a really positive change as well, I think. On top of all that, well, there's a huge amount of changes. Too many to list in this video, realistically. Like I said at the beginning of the video here. But new models for armor lockers, new models for O2 stations, and things like that. New music as well. The Legacy faction have got their own creepy ass music in the game. So thanks, Alex, for that. And yeah, just like a huge number of new POIs. It's a monster update. It really is. So again, I'll link down below to the patch notes. You can enjoy them and peruse them at your own leisure. For now, I'm going to enjoy the smooth operation of the ray tracer as it slowly picks apart this Xerax cruiser, and just love it. Just look how smooth this is. I can't get over it. The frames, ladies and gents, they're great. Nice work, Elion. Very good update. That's going to be all from me. In regards to Let's Plays, well, I think that brings an unceremonious end to my current Let's Play on the experimental branch. I was going to go to the center of the galaxy and check it out, but you all know what's already there. You've already been there, I think. Most of you, anyway. And I don't really want to spoil it. Actually, wait. I already did, didn't I? So I'll be starting a new Let's Play very soon. It will be on the brand new Alpha 12 Project Eden scenario. And it will be on a multiplayer server. So there might be some other people loitering around causing mischief. Anyway, it should be interesting to see what happens. We're still building the server in the background and testing it and stuff, so it might be a few days before I can upload anything of the new Let's Play. But make sure you're subscribed, make sure you got that notification bell hit. I'll premiere the episode as well, just so you guys get a maximum notification of when it's going to go up. In the meantime, I'll probably do a few episodes of other games, a little bit of change of pace for a little while, and maybe some other little Empyrion odds and sods here and there. I hope you join me for those. I think there'll be we'll have a bit of fun and it'll be great. But otherwise, hopefully, I will see you when I premiere my new Alpha 12 Let's Play on Project Eden. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this useful, entertaining slightly maybe, and informative. Let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are on Alpha 12. Are you excited? What do you like? What don't you like? I want to hear from you. Thanks again for watching. And hopefully, I'll see you next time. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.